Till now, in the previous sessions, we have understood the trading account, profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. There were the two important or three important components of the financial statement. Now we come down to the next part of the uh, final account or financial statement, that is the cash flow statement. Cash flow statement. It will be discussed in detail in this session. So, one of the three primary financial statements that investors and businesses use to evaluate a company's performance and financial standing, it is the cash flow statement. The cash flow statement divides activities into three categories. That is the financing, investing, and operating. Financing, investing, and operating, that means financing means that how to or from where to get the business financed, or how to collect funds for the business, in what way, who will be the financer to the business in order to run the business. The second is the investing part, that how the money from the business should be invested uh, in a way in order to generate income. And lastly, the operating, that is all the operational activities that are to be involved while doing the business. So these three activities have to be understood in order to understand that what this cash flow statement explains. So it shows the input and the outflows of cash and cash equivalent over a given period of time. The three activities are operating activities, where in operating activities all the money exchanges which are involved in carrying on the business transaction, regular business transactions. For example, suppose for the production we need to buy the raw material, and that raw material has to be processed into finished product. Now, for buying the raw material, we need to pay them. So we need money for this. This is called the operating activities. We have to pay down the money, and it's not only the raw material. Maybe we need certain other accessories. Maybe we need to buy uh, other spare parts in order to produce that goods into a complete product, transform it into a complete product. And at that time also we need this money to buy it in the market. Similarly, we need electricity, we need a building, for whatever things we need to produce goods or run the operation of the business. We need to have them in exchange for money. Obviously, nobody is giving things for free. So that is called the operating activities. Next is the investing activities. In investing activities, it includes financial exchanges for the purchase and sale of the long term asset. That is what investments we are making in business. For example, we are running the business in a factory premises which is on rent. But now I plan that, okay, I want to buy this building, because paying rent is an expensive affair. So when we are buying this asset, that is building, or maybe we are buying the equipments, heavy equipments, tools or machinery for the business, it is called the investing activity, because these are the investments made into the business which would help the business to earn profits in the years. See, if you're buying a building, so you are saved from paying the rent every month, and at the same time, this building will be lasting till the business will last. And after that, if the business is closed any time, at that time, what you can do is you can sell out these machinery or building, whatever. So it is called the investing activities, where we purchase the long-term assets for a longer period of we purchase for a longer period of time, and assuming till the business exists. And then there is third category, that is the financing activities, where the cash exchanges are done with the company's creditors and the owners. That is from wherever we have purchased the uh, goods or raw materials. If on credit, then we have to pay them back. And if we have, we are also going for cash exchange with our debtors also, to whom we have sold the goods on credit. So this is exchange of money with these with the people who are associated in business transactions. It is called the financing activities. So when as a whole, these financial statement, they offer through a thorough understanding of the performance, of not only the performance but also the position and cash flows of the business. They are actually these all statement, that is trading, profit and loss, balance sheet, as well as the cash flow statement. They all are very important instruments for the financial analysis purpose. Uh, on the basis of this analysis depends the decision making by the business, and also determining the company's viability and the sustainability. So in order to guarantee the uniformity and comparability amongst various entities, financial statements are usually prepared in compliance with the generally accepted accounting principles, that is called GAAP, or International Financial Reporting Standards. So, see, actually, what it says, the GAAP and that is GAAP, that is Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, or in International Financial Reporting Standard, IFRS. What is the meaning of these two, and what is the use of these two uh, provisions? Actually, these provisions, GAAP as well as IFRS, they provide that all the accounting standards have to be followed by everybody who is managing the books of accounts. There are all the accounting. There are well framed, well designed accounting standards as per the law, and the provision to follow those things, how to treat those heads, how to transform those heads, and how to make different adjustments. They are to be done as per the guidelines given under the GAAP and the IFRS. Actually, the purpose is that if everybody is following the same according to the rules, this would bring uniformity in the maintenance of the books of accounts, and therefore it will be easy for everyone to audit the books of accounts by anybody who is an expert of accountancy. So it is necessary that we have every company follows the generally accepted accounting principles and accounting standards, so that it is easy for them, and by law you have to follow it. You are bound to follow these accounting standards. So this is a format that explains the uh, cash flow statement, and it is listing down all the entries which are there under the three categories, that is cash flow from the operating activities, cash flow from the investing activities, and cash flow from the financing activities. We can see here that the first head, from the operating activities, obviously we have the net profit before the taxes, and all the adjustment then have to be done for non-cash and non-operating items that have already been, because see, net profit has already been derived from the net profit and loss account, and there already we have made all the adjustments, including operating as well as non-operating. So to get to the operating profits, what we have to do, we have to make certain adjustments which are not to be included. So those items have to be included or excluded accordingly in order to come down to the proper figure for the operating profit. So for add back, first of all, depreciation. Actually, depreciation, it is the amount of fixed rate of which is to be considered as wear and tear of any assets, and that amount is gradually in a small installment kept aside under the head depreciation. This way, what will happen, that by the end of the number of years, when the book value of these assets becomes zero, at that time what will happen, that we already will have the amount of money ready to purchase the new asset under the head of depreciation. So this way, but depreciation, since it is not an expenditure outside the business, therefore it is to be added back. So we add back depreciation, we add back preliminary expenses, goodwill, patent and trademarks, interest paid on short-term and long-term borrowings, interest paid on bank overdrafts, loss on sale of fixed assets, increase in provision of doubtful debt. And from this amount, we deduct interest income, dividend income, rental income, gain on sale of fixed asset, decrease in provision for doubtful debts, operating profits before working capital changes. So that means that we will be adding and subtracting all those items which are uh, not considered as the operating expenses or operating incomes. So all those items which are not to be considered as operating expenditures, they will be added back because they have been previously subtracted to arrive at the net profit, whereas all the non-operating in revenues have to be deducted because they are not supposed to be there in the operating profit. Similarly, the cash flows from investing activities here, we will be including all the proceeds from the sale of tangible assets, intangible fixed assets, for example, goodwill from sale of non-current assets, dividend and interest received, rent received. Actually, investing activities, any money that is coming, from the sale or from the sale of any assets. It is called the money that was invested in an asset, but if we are selling them, whatever money is coming in, we take it as cash inflow, whereas we have to reduce from this the purchase of tangible assets, purchase of intangible assets, because when you are purchasing the asset, the cash is flowing out, and when you are selling those assets, the cash is coming in. So all those transactions have to be taken into consideration in order to compute the figure for investing activities. Then there is a cash flow from the financing activities. Financing activities, it is the issue of shares, and whatever money is, it includes the whatever money is raised through shares and debentures, proceeds from other long-term borrowings. If you're borrowing money from the market, maybe you are borrowing it from the banks, maybe you are borrowing it from debenture holders, whether it is short-term or long-term period, because money is coming in, and therefore this is to be included. No doubt our liability is increasing, but this is bringing in the money into the business. After that, we will be reducing from it the maybe in the sense whatever the money is going out, maybe the bank overdraft balance, payment of interim dividend, payment of proposed dividend, payment of the short-term and long-term borrowings. So whatever the conclusion can be, that whatever the money is going out of the business, that is to be taken, deducted in order to get the actual amount that is from the financing activities. So I think we can now very clearly distinguish the three activities, that is operating, financing, and investing and the financing activities. Operating is related only and only to the business operation activities, whatever is there which bring in money, and through which the money is brought in, and through whatever expenditures the money goes out. Similarly, in case of investing activities, we consider all the inflows of cash when we are selling the assets, and all the outflows of cash when we are purchasing the assets. Similarly, the third category in financing, whatever money is inflowed or whatever cash inflows through raising of shares or liabilities or debt or equity, whatever, and we also take into consideration or decrease by whatever the payment is made, or how the cash outflows with the amount of money that is paid out. So this is how, and this is the format according to which we need to prepare the cash flow statement and know the liquidity position of the business at any particular given period of time. And usually it is made at the end of the year. Next, we come to understand how to manage the cash flows. Uh, See, any business's capacity to succeed and uh, last will depend upon its ability to manage the cash flows. How smoothly it can work with the liquidity, because cash or funds are the lifeblood of any business. So, how efficiently they manage their cash in the best way, this will decide it decides the success of any business, or how long lasting that business can be. And therefore there are some very important cash flow management techniques that are not to be ignored while you are doing the business, because in the previous part, whatever we have learned about the trading, profit and loss account, balance sheet, all those, and cash flow statement, they give us a very clear picture about what the business's financial health is at that particular period of time. And through the cash flow statement, we understand that how the cash is, it is mobilizing the complete business. And therefore after knowing that or understanding that, we must be able to uh, manage, or maybe try to manage it most efficiently. And there are certain tools and techniques which we will be discussing at large uh, here, in order to how to follow them, how to do them, in order to have a best way to do with the limited cash or money we have. So the first tool or first technique is through proper forecasting the cash flows. It is actually forecasting here means anticipating. You have your current assets, you have your working capital. Working capital is the difference between the current asset and the current liability. So you know that how much money is required in future by you. How will you, what amount of money you will be requiring, that has to be anticipated beforehand. So create a thorough cash flow forecast. You must be doing that, because and which must include the anticipated inflows and outflows of fund over a given time frame, because this will help you in predicting whether you are going to face certain shortages in near future, or surplus, or you will be having some surplus. So it becomes very important that you go for the forecasting. For this, you will have to keep monitoring your cash flows, your books of accounts very regularly. That if you are, suppose you estimate the demand for your product in future, now you have to plan the production of that. For planning the production, you need to procure the raw material, and for raw material you just have to calculate that how much money will you be needing. It shouldn't be at the 11th hour. So if it is done, this work is done well in advance, it will help you or protect you from becoming the defaulter in or maybe facing the losses or the crisis. For this, in order to forecast most accurately, obviously you have to have very keen eyes, very close eyes on your financial inflows and outflows, in order to understand the trends. That is the spot. You should be you should be knowing how to spot what is coming. That is the trends, the patterns, and the possible problems that might, before they become too serious to be handled. So they are you what you have to do is you have to check your book of accounts, and you have to On and off, you have to ask your accountants to update your cash flows on a very, very regular basis. Maybe from every week, maybe every month, maybe every quarter. It depends upon the nature of your business, and it depends upon the fund requirements that you have. So it is, you have to be very you have to have a very uh, you have to be very alert, and you have to be very strongly observing the things regularly. For this, when you're keeping an eye, you are keeping a check on everything. Your all, invoices should be managed on time. That is, quickly you have to send out all the invoices and monitor the payments. And you have to also check out that what money has to be collected from the market. So you have to guarantee the on-time collections. Think about providing early payment reductions and setting up explicit rule for payments also. See, your money is actually circulating into the market. You are getting the cash from the people to whom you have sold the goods. So you have to keep and check on them also. You have to keep an eye on them also. Maybe in order to encourage them or motivate them to pay early, you can offer them some discounts. For example, if you have to recover rupees 1 lakh from the market, and those debtors are not ready to pay, they are taking time. So you, maybe to attract them, you can offer maybe 2% discount or 3% discount, or maybe 10% discount if you pay immediately. So this way you can, and similarly, when you are doing the payment to others, to the creditors, then in that case also you have to be on time. You have to see that the cycle of your cash flows are maintained regularly, and therefore you have to manage not only your invoices, but also you have to manage your accounts receivables, the bills receivables, the creditors, the debtors. And how do you do it? You will be doing it by putting in place a very methodical credit management procedure, which has to be strictly adhered to. In order to reduce the likelihood of bad debts, you have to keep an eye on and pursue the past due dates, and you have to keep checking things. You have to keep checking on the people. You have to keep checking on the people that and call them off and on when the payment has to be done. Checking on these things. Next is our control of inventory. Control of inventory means that you have to have knowledge of the optimal inventory levels uh, that should be there in your business. Optimal inventory level means that neither should it be in excess nor it should be in shortage. So we have to maintain an optimal inventory levels, so in order to avoid the stockouts or the overstocking. So cash is tied up by excess inventory, and sales might be lost by stockouts. So there shouldn't be shortage, because in that case, what happens, if there is a shortage, you cannot fulfill your orders on time, and maybe you lose your customers in the market, which will be leading to big losses to the business. So the inventory management has to be done in a very competent and efficient way, with sharp eyes on the stocks that are available, that are supposed to be available. Those quantities are maintained. Along with the control of inventory, we also have to check on the suppliers agreement. That is, what agreements you sign in with them. We must make efforts we must make efforts to work out and sign out the advantageous conditions for the payment with the suppliers, because uh, without whenever it is possible, what happens in actually, when you are in the good books of the supplier, you get your goods on time, and then and that good books have to be maintained by you becoming a good paymaster on time. That good relationship has to be maintained, so that whenever you feel that whenever you feel that you need some stretch time, and it is possible with some of the suppliers, then you can take advantage of that, and you can revolve your money for some other purposes also. So whenever, if it is possible, when you find that it's feasible, then you can extend the payment schedule without ruining the connection with them, and you can take the benefit of maybe late payment with the suppliers, but you cannot go with this every time. Another aspect that has to be taken care of, it is the control of expenses. Uh, Again, your expenditures, if they go out of proportion, they may bring a big loss to the business. So here we have to check that we keep checks and balances on our expenditures. And how can we do it? I think by routinely analyzing the expenses and locating the possible situations where those expenses can be saved. So we have to look for those opportunities also. Though whatever the essential expenditures are that have to be done, then those expenditures must be done. But in case you find that there are certain chances how or methods where you can save those expenses, you must try to reduce them. You must try to reduce the operating expenses, and for this you have to just pay attention to your discretionary spendings, and you have to plan that how these things can be controlled or minimized in the best possible way. Another one is the credit management. Credit management, that is how you are buying the things and selling the things on credit. There are two parties, creditors and debtors. There is another thing, that is bills receivable and bills payable. So which talks about the credit management part. So here we must be very cautious while giving our clients the goods on credit, giving the goods to our clients on credit. We must reduce the risk of non-payment, evaluate each client's credit worthiness, and set explicit credit policies. By having the transparent and efficient credit management system, there will be no shortage of funds with you. There will be no crisis of funds with you, because if it is not efficiently managed, then maybe sometimes you have again overstocked your liquidity, or maybe sometimes you have understocked, which leads to problem in the way that funds are not being managed in an efficient way. So these are some of the heads we are going to do till today. We'll continue with the remaining aspects on the next session. Thank you.